Khloe Kardashian admits surrogacy process made her feel really guilty due to transactional process. Khloe Kardashian opened up about feeling uncomfortable with the transactional feeling of surrogacy process in the season 3 premiere of The Kardashians. During a confessional, the Good American co-founder, 38, got candid about grappling with guilt for using a surrogate to bring her son Tatum, now 9 months, into the world, admitting she was in, quote, a state of shock from the entire experience. I buried my head in the sand during that pregnancy. When I went to the hospital, that was the first time it really registered that it has nothing to do with the baby. I felt really guilty that this woman just had my baby, and then I take the baby, and then I go to another room, and you're separated. It's such a transactional experience because it's not about him. I wish someone was honest about surrogacy and the difference of it. That doesn't mean it's bad. It's great, but it's just very different, end quote. Elsewhere in the episode, Khloe admitted that she felt less connected to her newborn son than she did with her daughter, True, now 5, after she was born.
That's so sad. I think, really quickly, and then I want to hear your thoughts. I'm just going to start off with, like, it makes sense that she didn't realize, because I'm sure many of her siblings, I know for a fact, Kim did it and had no reservations at all. Like,
Yeah.
I remember Khloe said that, like, Kim said it was a great process and it was fine, and she didn't experience any of these feelings. So now Khloe's like, maybe I'm the problem. If other people aren't experiencing these emotions, then maybe it's me. Anyways, go ahead with do you have a spiel or something? I want to hear
it. Well, no, I think you're making a very valid point. I did think about that because Kim has done it twice, and at least Kim didn't share it on TV, and it sounds like she didn't share it with Khloe if she had a problem with it. But I think what Khloe felt is probably more of the normal, because, yeah. I mean, what she said, it is transactional, and I want to say, I hate to say it, that's exactly what it is. You are using someone's body to, have this child, and then you take the child, and then you do it. And then I think it's so telling. She says, it had nothing to do with the baby. Oh, no, that's not the part.
Yeah,
but she says,
it's not about him.
Yeah, it's not about him. That's the part. It's a transactional experience because it's not about him. And I think that is really, like, encompasses our issue with surrogacy. And I just want to add really quick. So we are going to have the conversation about surrogacy because it needs to be had.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you have chosen a surrogate, we're not trying to shame you. If you have been a surrogate for people, we're not necessarily trying to shame you. We're trying to talk about the conversation. And we have to have the conversation to be able to talk about it. So, that's just what this is. We're just having this conversation. We're speaking some truths. Take what you want from it. Don't take what you want from it. But I think it's really great that it was really needed that Khloe spoke up like this. It's really needed that Khloe said something, because, I mean, she's not the only one who feels that way, because that's literally what it is. I mean, I don't know how to express anymore. Like, I don't know how else to express that it is transactional. That is the perfect word for it.
It really is. I couldn't have thought of a better word for it. It removes all emotion, right, from the process. Like, when you're thinking about the logistics of it, are we really thinking about not only how Khloe's gonna feel, but how this other woman's gonna feel, and more than anything, how is the child gonna feel? I mean, there are studies of children having abandonment issues when the woman who gives birth to them is no longer there. I mean, there are scents happening, there are hormones. That pregnancy is the ultimate bonding process. I mean, being one with a human being.
I was like, you can't get any closer to someone than
ultimate
being
bonding.
their mother.
Literally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then I think about, like, later down the line, her firstborn, True, is, like, maybe looking at an ultrasound image and is like, oh, that's me when I was in mommy's belly. And then Tatum comes along and is like, where am I? And then, having to explain, well, you weren't in my belly. You were in someone else's belly. And he's like, whose? And you just wonder about that other woman, that third party that you're bringing in. I will say, she from what I can tell, did not choose this for her career. She told As Magazine, which is as.com. I've never heard of it. But she said that that the doctors told her there was like an 80% chance that she would have a miscarriage if she did have her own baby, which begs the question, I mean, if you're going to miscarry, maybe that's God saying, don't have a baby.
Fair. That is definitely fair. That could be it. I think, so to kind of piggyback off of that, I think that when people are having this conversation, they're forgetting that Kim and Khloe both really want children and they just can't for whatever reason.
That's a good desire.
It is a good desire. And I think that with Khloe choosing to do surrogacy as opposed to carrying the child all the way through with a man that third trimester Tristan that has cheated on her, that does not love her, that doesn't seem to be a decent dad. Like, these are from what we can see. You know, if he's better, then I mean, please show us, because we're not seeing it. I think her choosing to do surrogacy was also a way of like not being attached to him as well. And you know, the child wasn't made in love, and that's kind of hard to say, but like, this man Tristan does not love her, and it's his kid, you know, it's his kid. She wanted True and Tatum to have the same biologically siblings, which is great. So then be with some, like, marry, have a family. But
yeah, it seems like they're like red flag after red flag saying like, no, 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 no. And like, this is what happens when like we don't put the child first. Like, ultimately, she had a desire for a child and she was going to get her biological child.
Yeah.
By any means necessary.
Yeah.
And that is it's a good desire. I mean, every woman is called to some kind of motherhood, whether it's spiritual or physical.
Yeah.
We are called to some kind of motherhood. That is good. That is God-given. But too much of a good thing can sometimes be harmful. If that makes sense.
Yes, I understand. And I think, so Katie Faust, she's the founder of Them Before Us. She always says, she always talks about like child first. She says stuff like, like adults, we don't deserve children, but children deserve their biological parents. And I think that's something
it's true.
Yeah, and I think that's something that you have to wrap your mind around that. Because that's just not, I feel like that's just not culture. That's not what society says. That's not the norm anymore. That, you know, our great grandparents, everybody pretty much was with their families, and then if you weren't, it was kind of like, whoa, you don't have a father? That's what, you don't have, your mother left your family? You're kidding. Boo, mom, you know. And now it's kind of like, oh yeah, you didn't have a father. Oh, your mom left? That's awful. How's your stepmom? You know. And no shame to those who have those family experiences.
For sure.
But you are responsible for your future family, so you can break that cycle. Anyone listening. But the idea of like putting the kids first is so foreign, and it's just not a part of our culture, and it's not, and part of the problem is it's all part of the whole abortion, pro-life, you know. You see how it ties back in, everybody ties back in. So part of that, like, not caring about human life, not caring about the children, even though I hate when people go, what about the children? But like, that's kind of what this is. What about the children? Go ahead.
Well, and one last thing I want to say on this, and then I'm good. I think what you said is so key. And to put it in a nutshell, we say children are a gift, yet when else do we say we deserve a gift? See what I'm saying? We like, okay, do we really deserve gifts, or are gifts that come sporadically? And you're grateful for it and you didn't necessarily force this gift, because if you were forcing a gift, it wouldn't be a gift. If I forced Andy to get me a Tesla today and then I was like, what a great gift, he'd be like,
it's not a gift. Yeah.
It's not a gift. I was forced into this. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's really sad. The, 80% chance of a miscarriage. Very sad.
Totally.
People that do surrogate, there's so many upstanding good couples that do surrogacy. There's so many upstanding good single people that just really desire to be a parent. And I'm telling you, like, you guys, I am not saying this from like a pedestal. I'm saying this as someone, like, I want you to know, if you're listening and you feel some type of way, like, I'm right there with you. I have no idea if I am ever going to get married, and I have no idea if I will ever meet somebody. So the idea, not necessarily surrogacy, but the going other methods just to get a child, because I really, really want to be a mom. Like, the desire to be a mom is something I've had my entire life, and it's very strong. So I'm not saying this as someone who's like, who can't relate, because I've been married for 5 years. I met my husband when we were 12,
and you guys are perfectly healthy and no problems.
We actually have 6 kids. You guys don't hear them running around. Bethany, like, that's not how I'm saying this at all. So I understand and I completely sympathize, and I have that desire as well. But this is where we go back to holy versus happy. This is where we go back to, like, what is right and what is wrong. What is it, and who is in charge of right or wrong? That's God. Does this honor God? Is using someone, if it's going against how someone biologically, how he created our biological systems, is going against that. God, is God happy about that? I'm gonna say no. And I want to say, like, once again, if you yourself have been a surrogate, if you surrogated for someone, or if you are the child of a surrogate, it doesn't make you any less than a human. It doesn't make you 100%. Any less than loved. It doesn't make you any less whatever. We're just having this conversation, and we know that God wants us to put children, the Bible calls children a gift. God wants us children deserve their parents, their mom and their dad, their biological mom and dad. Are there instances where, so another thing, and then, we're going to move on to the next topic. I just want to add this last thing. People, that were commenting saying that they were against surrogacy, like, oh, I'm so glad she's talking about it, just telling the truth, blah, blah, blah. And there were those people who were like, well, you guys don't like adoption. I personally don't really understand the comparison of adoption and surrogacy, but I want to talk to that really quick. It's no one is against adoption, but the reality is adoption is not perfect. It's not the best idea for anyone. It is something that happens because of tragedy. It's something that happens, and like people say all the time, like, it's a traumatic event for everyone involved. There will always be trauma involved in that, but something is done to help rectify that. With surrogacy, you are the one causing the trauma. And I know that probably is harsh to hear, but like that, it's transactional. It's trauma inducing. And so I'm going to link the Them Before Us website as well, on our articles from the episode, and maybe we can even have Katie on one day to talk a little bit more about that and IVF, and just as Christians, like, how are we responding? And I just want to add too, like, this is a hard conversation. And very I think emotional. Sometimes it's very emotional, because every woman, I don't care who you are, every woman has at least a little bit of desire to be a mom. And it's a good desire. And it's really hard when it's a strong desire and you can't do it. Yeah. And we're people who want what we want, and we want to do everything to get it. And sometimes it's just not God's plan. Sometimes it's just not God's plan.